Hello there, and welcome to part 1 of 4 of my deep dive into the recent Mercenaries BattleTech Kickstarter. If you've been keeping up to the channel, you'll have seen that I did an unboxing of all the stuff that I got earlier in the week. I'm now going to split this into 4 parts, and I'm going to again do a little bit of an assessment, a review of what we got, or what I got specifically, but what is available. And yeah, looking forward to this immensely. This should be fun. In terms of the format then for these next 4 episodes, this one I am going to do the core box, so like the Mercenaries box, and I am going to do the like ad hoc force packs and some of the more random stuff in there. So it's going to be, as well as the main Mercenaries box set, I'm going to do both legendary packs. I'm going to do the Somerset Strikers pack. I'm going to have a look at the 2 scale dropships that were available, and then I'll have a look at the bespoke salvage boxes. So that was for the Visigoth, the Blood Asp, and the Savannah Masters. Yeah, and that's it. That's everything. That's quite a lot of content though, quite a lot of stuff to cover. The rest of the videos then, the second part of this, I will do the vehicles, of which I've got one of every pack, so that's at least one of every pack, so that's quite useful. So we'll go through all the vehicle packs. Third part will be the mech packs, so that's the Innisphere packs and the clan packs. And then the final part of this, I will actually do a salvage unboxing. That's going to be the last part, because I'm not going to do that until I get Hatch's Kickstarter, which I keep referring to, which will hopefully be with me over the next few weeks. At that point, I think I'm going to have about 60 points of salvage to go through, and I'll factor that in some kind of like something interesting, right? So I'm not just going to sit here and be like Hunchback, Quick Draw, Wolfhound, right? That's really boring. I'll do something. I'll give you my wish list for that, and then we'll see if I can fulfill my wish list. I'll come up with some like format to keep that at least moderately interesting, because I really, me personally, I don't think I'd ever watch one of those videos. I'd find it quite dull, but a few people have asked me to do it, and I think given that there are going to be like 60 plus salvage boxes, I think I still can't really work it out how many we are getting, but hey ho, they're all kind of just sat over in the corner. I think I've got about there's like 40 plus there. Well, it's what I showed on camera the other day. So I think there were 5 packs of 9. So what's that? Yeah, 45 plus the 3 blood asps. So that's 48 points of salvage. Although we obviously know what the blood asp is. So yeah, that'll be the final part anyway. So again, the first 3 parts of this should come relatively quickly over the next week. Salvage though, I'm going to have to wait until the second part of this Kickstarter arrives, which hopefully won't be too much longer. Now, in terms of the format then of what I'm going to do here, I've got like a table in front of me with all the things sprawled out. This is not a traditional review, right? So you all know me, you know that I'm not going to edit videos, and I'm not going to have like turntables and zoom ins and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you what I think of the products. I will like hold them up, right? So I'll be, oh, I'm speaking about this thing, but I'm not going to be like, this is the thing, because the zoom thing on the, not zoom, sorry, the focus is all going to be shot out anyway. Although in here today, it's a beautiful late autumn, early winter day today, very bright, so it's a good day to record. But again, just regarding my like very shoddy workmanship when it comes to audio visual stuff, I'm not going to be like intercutting this is a review with like lots of detail or anything. If you want that, I've noticed that DFA have started to put the videos out already for their like in-depth reviews, and I'm pretty sure, although can't say this for sure because it's Aaron that records them. Pretty sure they'll do a deep dive on all the Kickstarter stuff over the next like few months. So if you want that kind of review, absolutely go watch DFA. No one does it better than Aaron when it comes to like the editing and really focusing in on the detail of the mechs. That's not what this is. This is going to be like my assessment of what we've got and a bit of a deep dive into the content on things like the main Mercenary box set, which is obviously this little beauty here. I had a good look at this yesterday, so here is the box of goodies. Some of this I've set apart, some of it I'm obviously not going to talk about, like the primers and the dice and stuff. That comes as standard in all these, what I call like starter sets, but I suppose they're not really. Like a game of Armoured Combat is like the core one. There is a different like beginner's set thing, which has got like a watered down rule base, but we are used to getting certain things in these box sets, like they'll give you little actually there are no cardboard standees in this one, but there's plenty of other things available which we will go into. Just let me unpack this and then I'll start showing things to the camera. Right, so instead of cardboard standees then, we get these two. There you are. These are basically like hex points for your hex map, with lots of different features in there. So you've got things like infantry, elementals, which obviously, like you can use as units. You've got then vehicles as well. So instead of having the cardboard standees for the mechs, they've done actual little like picture format things for the vehicles. So you've got a lot of the vehicles there that you get in the Inner Sphere vehicle force packs, which I still say is very, very nice of CGL to do. I mean, I don't think they necessarily will lose sales on that, but obviously you can buy like the Demolisher, for instance, comes in one of the new packs. So rather than buying the Demolisher, you can actually just use these little cardboard like icons or tokens here. Not for me, got to say. I think you all know my feelings on anything to do with like two-dimensional assets. I don't use them, or cardboard standees, anything like that. But I love that they put these in the game, because it allows someone just to open up the box. You do get a couple of vehicles, obviously. You get the Maxim, which I love this model, by the way. It's such a chunky boy. So you get some of them in there, but if you want to kind of expand it out and use other vehicles, you've got some nice little options there, as well as the objective support pack as well. So you've got like the mobile HQ and the long tom there as well. So very, very nice. Then we've got, I like this as well. This is a cheat sheet for the vehicles for the new gaming system, which we will talk about. And there's also a battlefield support section on all the rules about the, the artillery strikes and strafing and the bombing things that you can do, which ties into these cards as well, which I've talked about on the channel before because I use these all the time. But I'll give a quick assessment of those. Two interesting things here, which I'll cover very, very quickly, and that's the Mercenary record sheet and the contract of mercenary employment, which I thought were nice little features. There's also a cheat sheet of sorts on the back there for your campaign. It's like an activity. There's an activity cost table for if you improve the gunnery skill on a pilot or whatever, like how much that costs you and what it is to repair a mech or a vehicle or whatever between games. This will all obviously be given in the rule set, which is over there. The rule set is quite interesting actually. It's not the I literally had like a half a minute glance through it. It's not like a game of Armoured Combat rules. It goes into much more like detail on like support units, which is absolutely what they should have done. This is basically like an expansion pack for BattleTech. If a game of Armoured Combat is the game, the Clan Invasion is like the mech expansion. This is like the support unit expansion. Although you do obviously get mechs in the box set, because you can't do a BattleTech box set and not put mechs in there. Obviously that would not work. So then let's have a look at some of these nice new features that we have available to us. Although one of these features has been out for some time, and that is the Battlefield Support Deck, which you've been able to buy for a couple of years now. I love these. I much prefer it to using anything with, like putting an artillery piece on a table or using like the traditional classic artillery rules. Not for me at all. These are very, very quick and dirty and very, very good, and it just gives a lot of flavour to the game. So it allows you to put air assets on the table without actually having to have the nuisance of putting air asset models on the table, which I always find completely janky in tabletop gaming. It does not work. Like 40k is awful at it. Like, you know, like you've got big air units that just kind of fly across the. It just doesn't work. Works better for 6mm because obviously it's a much smaller scale. So you can kind of say there that when you've got a plane like going over the battlefield or whatever, but on like 28mm, it's farcical. VTOL's very different. VTOLs are just like regular units that basically just hover and can get around quickly. I'm more than happy to use those on like standard gaming tables. But this for like strafing, airstrikes, bombing strikes, mines, artillery strikes, all the stuff done on table, it just gives you like an asset cost to it, and there's a very, very simple rule set. I think I did a video like years ago on the rule set for it. It's really, really simple. If you're using like classic rules, it's nice and easy. There is actually as well an Alpha Strike version of these cards that comes in the Alpha Strike box set, which I suppose again is one of the other like mech expansions for a game of armored combat, but it's obviously under the Alpha Strike rule system. That though, it basically all the like damage details and everything else, it just boils it down to its Alpha Strike equivalent. So useful if you play Alpha Strike, obviously. One thing as well, if you get this pack, and this is quite important to know, if you bought the original packs of these from like a couple of years ago, and I can't remember which one it was, but one set of the cards was accidentally omitted from there. It was either heavy airstrikes or heavy bombing. You've now got those in here. So if, like I have, I'm actually using the Alpha Strike cards that I got in the Alpha Strike box set as proxies, but I can now just get rid of them because I don't play Alpha Strike really, and I can just put whatever that is, I can stick them in that card set now, which is very nice, completes that set. Although I do think if you buy new versions of this card deck just separately, then they do come with the full deck. It was just that first run, and I kind of resent the fact that I have to go and they're not expensive, but I think I got like 4 packs of them for 40 quid. And I just don't want to spend another 40 quid just because a couple of cards are missing. So this makes up for that very nicely. Right, new rule sets. I love this. We've known about this for a while. They actually allowed us to beta test on it. If you kind of signed up to the Kickstarter, you could go in and get the rule set. I did that, I got the rule set for it, I incorporated it into my game, and I've played quite a few games of it now with that rule set. But now though, we've got the actual cards for it. So that's super, a nice little feature that if you're bringing like a foot infantry, like platoon, you can actually just have that card on tabletop as opposed to having to use like a reference sheet. I love this. I absolutely love it. Basically, like I'll hold that up to the camera if you can see that. The cost of the unit is actually in the top right there. I think it's been a while since I did this, but I think the cost is the left-hand figure there. So 7 is just the standard cost, and the bracketed cost, which is 8, is actually if you get the elite unit version. And you see, if you get the elite unit version, it gets a better skill rating, which makes it obviously easier to hit things with. So that's like an opportunity cost thing for you to think about. I love that it doesn't incorporate that obviously within the regular battle value system. So if you're playing a game like 3000 battle value 2 against 3000 battle value 2, you can then agree to say, right, and we'll bring 150 support points. So you can bring 150 of any of these infantry or vehicle pieces. They've even got things like machine gun nests in there. So, and lots of all the turrets as well, like heavy turrets, medium turrets, light turrets. So really good little feature. In terms of the rule set, I probably will do a video at some point on going through these rules. I love them. It's basically it's Alpha Strike features in the classic format, and it makes, and this is something to be aware of if you do want to play this, it makes vehicles a lot less crunchy. And infantry, like famously in BattleTech, you can basically completely swamp your opposition with just bringing Saladin tanks to the table or whatever, which for me is a bit of a rotten tactic. Like, I don't think that's like in the spirit of the game at all, because if you're playing the BattleTech game, you should really, ideally you want to be using a mixture of all different things, like, mechs and air support and ground support and troops, etc. That is how these battles would be fought. Obviously, the mechs are like tactically very advantageous because they are so like quick and can get around like much more easily than like a tank. That's really not reflected on tabletop because BattleTech is a game of weight of dice. So if you've got like 20 armored units firing on mechs, they'll do massive damage to them, and then you'll find that when you're hitting with your mech, you might like destroy the treads or the wheels, but the turret still works. And it's just the classic rules, as interesting as they are, and it is, it's a well-designed rule set in terms of its like minutiae. It's a horrible system to play, and it's very frustrating. And you can get around it by like limiting the amount of support units someone can take. So you could like say a game where you'd say, right, you're allowed to take a maximum of 4 wheeled units or tracked units, or a certain amount of battle value allocated to that. This though makes everything just like a million times quicker. How they do it, let me just find one of the vehicle. So let's have a look actually at this one. This is the Warrior, like the helicopter, and you can see just as a standard it costs 12 points, so it's actually very, very cheap. The skill of this thing is in its range and its movement points. So you can see movement points there. MP is 9, and it's got a V next to there for VTOL. That means that it can basically get across all terrain because it's flying. You've then got a target modifier, excuse me, of +4. I believe it's been a while since I saw this, but that means that even if the unit moves like 1 hex or 1 inch, whatever you're using, you get a +4 modifier to hit, which is very, very good. Range then is 8, 16, 24. That's to show the AC2 on there, so it's got a tiny damage of 2, really like genuinely tiny. Skill then is basically your gunnery hit point. Vehicles in this version don't have a piloting skill. Vehicles do have piloting skills in regular classic, but not in here. Although the rule set is now out, right? Like, it's no longer in beta, it's a thing. So when I do the deep dive on this, I'm sure that there are like piloting rules that you have to take through this skill rule or whatever. It's just I've not seen them yet. The really interesting thing then is the damage check, which is here. And again, it's been a while, but I think it's if you roll higher than that, if you hit it and you roll higher than that level, the unit dies. And that's why I said they're very, very weak in comparison to, say, like the mechs that obviously have all the armor and the inner structure you need to strip off in classic. So it absolutely makes them like less viable. But that TMM makes them very hard to hit, especially, the maneuvering it can do as well. You can basically just maneuver this thing to kind of get right outside of the range of a mech. It's so quick. But if you do get hit, expect to die, basically. One thing I noted on these, and it's something that for some units or some vehicles, it's a lot easier to do than others. You'll see there it just says damage 2. If we have a look at like the foot infantry here, you get 5 times 2, which is obviously significantly stronger. So that gives you a total of 10 damage across different points. So you'd roll 5 times on the hit chart to see where you hit, and each point does 2 points of damage, just to kind of denote like the machine gun and the like light arms fire that the infantry are directing at something. This though just has the AC2 on there, which, if memory serves me correctly, the H7 attack helicopter also has SRMs on there. I think there might be at least an SRM2 on there. And the SRM2 on this is then completely negated. For some of these vehicles, let me try and find one of the... Here we are. So Demolisher. Demolisher famously has 2 AC20s on there. So the damage is 20 times 2, which is probably the biggest damage ratio in this. That denotes all its weapons, right? So all it's got on there is 2 AC20s. That's it. This, though, you just get the 8, 16, 24 range at 2 damage. That's only the AC2. So the SRM damage is just missing on there. Now, they play tested it. or Catalyst have play tested it. They came up with that conclusion that if you had such mismatching weapons, you just go for the ranged one. I personally wouldn't have done that. And it might be something to think about doing a homebrew on this. I would have actually brought the range down. So I might have given this instead like a 6, 12, 18, something like that, and then put the damage up to 4. So again, it's that opportunity costing, right? To then say, I mean, I know that technically then that is wrong because an SRM cannot fire over 9 hexes. But if you're just going to think about it as like, well, you've now just completely omitted the SRM2. Yeah, again, arguments for both ways on that. I just think that I would have preferred it to have been less rangy but do a little bit more damage. That would make it into a bit more of an effective cavalry unit there. This, though, now is very much just like a harasser unit. So, and it can be useful. You know, like I was thinking of scenarios where this would be quite good. Let's say you've done like 18 or 19 points of damage to a mech and you had no other like mechs or big guns in place. You could literally like charge this fella in with his massive range just to kind of like push over the mech, so it has to do a piloting skill roll. So that'll get him up to the 20 points that you need to do the PSR. So it can be useful for stuff like that, or getting rear shots could be really useful at that. But that 2 damage is just absolutely tiny. I mean, it's basically like a machine gun of damage, even though it's at ranged. It's an AC2. Just think it makes them not very good. But again, I think there will be workarounds for that and potential homebrews for that. Obviously, as well, you can look at taking different variants of the warrior or different helicopters, whatever. But generally speaking, yeah, I think these are fantastic. So when I do the deep dive, I'm sure there are new rules in this now. I did notice that they've got like these special abilities, which I've got no idea what any of these mean. So it just says no turret. I mean, I know what that means, obviously, but I don't. That'll probably just mean that you can only fire in its forward arc. But yeah, just again, I'll go through all that. I'll see what I like. I'll incorporate. I think I'm just going to incorporate most of it into my game because I do like this rule set, and I think it's a very, very positive thing for them to have done. Because having played Classic with vehicles, it ain't fun. I don't think it's fun for either party. I think people kind of get duped into it a little bit because they know that they can get like a greater weight of dice, which is massively important in BattleTech, right? Like if you are rolling more dice than your opponent to hit, you will probably win. It's very much stacked in favour of that. So that's why like mechs like the Nova are very popular because they have that like 12 M lasers on there. Same with vehicles. You could basically just spam like Savannah Masters with like 1 M laser on there. If you've got 30 Savannah Masters, you've got 30 M lasers. You're rolling 30 times. Gives you a chance to get more headshots, things like that. So this cuts down on a lot of that, crunchy behaviour. Let's just say. Right. Let's have a look at the mechs on this. And again, I'm not going to hold these all up, like I said, but we'll talk about a couple of them. We've already shown, and I think it is the Maxim you get in here, right? I believe. In fact, let me just check on the back of the box here. Make sure we're talking about the right stuff. Is it even going to tell me? Maybe not. No, of course it doesn't. Pretty sure it is. Is it like the Galleon and the Maxim? I think. Yeah, possibly. These vehicles are incredible, especially the Maxim. Again, presuming this is the Maxim. This is a troop transport, if memory serves me correctly. The size and scale of these things is just light years in front of the old metal models. These look now like actual terrain feature pieces as opposed to the old metal models, which I always felt looked far too small. Not these though. I mean, there are small vehicles. When we do that, when we look into that tomorrow, we'll come across things like the like the scout units that are just really tiny, or we'll be looking at the Savannah Master shortly, and that is literally like the smallest unit in the game, or the smallest like mechanical vehicle in the game. And it's but it's great. Like that looks like it could hold troops, which is exactly what it is there for. So I absolutely love that. In terms of the mechs, the standout mech for me is the Star Slayer. I'm very, very biased though. The Star Slayer is very much like a Mech Commander 2 mech, which is the game I love the most, and you get the Star Slayer very, very early in that game. I think the flea is exceptionally pretty as well. It's just so tiny. Like its head is like the size of like the pauldron of the Devastator. I think that's called the Devastator. Just let me check that. I always Demolishers, Devastators. It's like yes, it is a Devastator. Yeah. Speaking of the Devastator, he looks like something from Games Workshop. Like he's got those giant pauldrons. Like you could put him as one of like the newfangled, like ultramarine type things that Games Workshop keep coming out with. It's even got like a Space Marine-esque head. So yeah, very, very nice. I don't think there's anything I don't like here. It's the new plastics, the ones that I've seen so far, are absolutely lovely. Some of the posing I'm not best pleased with. I've got to say, like, if you look at like the Caesar, it's very like square on. Not a fan when they do that. I do like a dynamic pose. It's fine, if you get it in a few mechs where it's a little bit static, but still, I do like the Caesar as a mech. It's kind of like it's basically the Catathrac with a Gauss rifle, right? That's how I always think about the Caesar. I don't think it's popular for that reason because they put the Gauss rifle in the right torso. So if that takes a crit in Classic, it basically does like horrendous ammo-esque damage to your internal structure. So not how popular he will be, but it looks very much like a Catathrac. I just wish, in fact, we did get there's another variant of the Catathrac here, and that is in a dynamic pose. So maybe that's why they put this guy square on. Right, moving on then. So that's the actual box. All the data that we get, all the stuff that we're getting in the core box. So that's a real hit for me. I think that they've really done a good product there, especially with that new rule set for vehicles. Absolutely first rate. Do a couple of quick reviews here, because not much to say. We've got the 2 dropships where I've glued the legs on now. They're absolutely fine. I mean, we've got here, this is the Union class dropship, and then we've got the Overlord class dropship. So you've got boiled egg and Easter egg. Not to scale, obviously. I mean, if you kind of look at this, yeah. I mean, what is that? It's like a jacuzzi for this guy, right? Like take the top off and he can go for a swim. But you technically, 12 mechs should fit in there, so absolutely not to scale. There is, I think I said this when I did the unboxing, you could potentially justify 4 mechs coming out of this, although these are technically the entrance and exit ways, so yeah. What I'd use them for, in terms of a tabletop context, like let's say you had a mission where you had to get to a dropship, I'd kind of put this in the background on a hill that wasn't really kind of on the map. I'd just have it as like a there it is type feature just for a bit of ambience, but certainly wouldn't be using them to, in terms of BattleTech terrain features, because it just would look very janky and weird. So yeah, dropships are nice. Again, I bought them predominantly just to support the person that needed the medical assistance. So yeah, outside of that, I don't think I would have bought them, but yeah. Anyway, whatever. Moving on then. So next up, let's deal with the legendary MechWarrior 2-pack, which is this one. Let's get the mechs over here. So we have got... Where are we? Okay. So we'll do the Caesar first, because we just talked about the Caesar. This is... Let me just get the name. I think it's called Archangel, right? That's the actual name of the mech. Think so. Pretty sure I remember that from my BattleTech lore. It's very similar to the regular variant of the Caesar. It's just got I think it's, in fact, in terms of the model, the difference is that the way it's holding its gun, you probably can't see that, but that is holding a gun like you'd hold a pistol, and that is like a gun attached to the arm. So I'm presuming that that is potentially a different weapon, although they look very, very similar. But apart from that, I think it's got like an extra laser on the left arm. But I much prefer the pose on this fella. He looks very, very good. We've then got an array of... This is probably one of the most disappointing models, actually, the next one. It's like an array of stuff here. But we've just got another Devastator. And it literally is the same Devastator. It's just got its leg slightly pulled back. I know that there's a big push on McLaren's Armoured. Actually, the box set for that will be out at Barnes & Noble probably early next year. I'm probably they made the decision to put the Devastator in the box before they decided about doing the Legendary set. That to me is just a waste of a spot, but they've done that a few times, and it's fine. I mean, it's nothing really to moan about. It's just the way it is. We've got in here as well this guy's name, Abdon Recall. He is a famous mercenary aligned through. I think it's beyond the eras that I really play BattleTech, but I do remember he's in the. He's got like that red and black Marauder there from the pilot card. His Marauder as well. It comes with options for guns. I forgot about this. When I did the unboxing, I was like, oh, it doesn't have an AC weapon on the top. You actually do get them. You get a couple of them. There are actually two Marauders in here with these same options. So you've got all manner of like that. I think is like a regular AC5. I think that is some variant of a PPC, and that looks like a UAC5 or a RAC5. There's another one as well, which just looks like it could be anything. It could be a heavier autocannon. It could be a PPC. I'm not too sure. Obviously, you get on the Alpha Strike cards, it will tell you what version and variant it is, and you can kind of match it up then to whatever weapon system you want to play with. Much as with all these like legendary like mechs, you do get those options. There's also as well in this another little bit of a disappointment. You've got Calandra Kells tank, which is the SM5 Field Commander. It's quite odd. I think it's just like a hover tank with an AC-20 or UAC-20 on there. So could be very, very powerful given that it's got that UAC-20 and it's hover. It's definitely a hovercraft, that. So an interesting thing. Where I'm annoyed about it though is that it only has the Alpha Strike card. It doesn't have the new fangled, rule system for the vehicles, which is frustrating. I don't know why they've done that. I would imagine that is because it's just a pain for them to basically say, well, we'll put we have to put Alpha Strike cards on this one random card that's not in all the other box sets. So they've probably just left it. But then if you're like a newish player or you're not very familiar with what's going on, that's just going to be really, like, if you got this pack, you'd be like, don't know how to play this now because I don't have the rule set for it. Or I don't have the card for it. It doesn't tell me what the stats are. So it's a bit of a weird choice, that, but hey ho. Final one to talk about then is the Charger. The Charger, this variant is far, far, far more interesting and better than the regular Charger. Although, no, in fact, I take that back. There's nothing more interesting than the original variant of the Charger. It's completely ridiculous, but this one has got like an LRM-20 on there. It's got a much better like weapon loadout. It doesn't just do what the regular Charger does, which puts 5 S lasers on there. And this is actually Jeremiah Rose's Charger. So I think he eventually upgrades to a clan mech. And I want to say it's a Warhawk, but I can't remember. I think it's one of like the big beefier, like Direwolf or Warhawk or something like that. He basically upgrades, but this in itself is an upgrade from the regular Charger. So that's legendary. Sure, that's legendary MechWarriors box 2. You can actually see in the background there they've actually got Marcus Barton's the picture of his Devastator. The back art on this is amazing. I mean, just in terms of like retail, if you had these like square on like this, they really do make an impression, and the artwork is fantastic. Right, next let's do the other Mercenary box set. This is Legendary MechWarriors 3. Again, that's actually the Bounty Hunter in his Marauder in the background there, so very, very nice picture. This box is slightly weird, I'll be honest. I mean, I like it. It's interesting. For me, though, it's slightly come a bit too late, this, because I actually did a video probably about 2 or 3 years ago now on my Bounty Hunter force. So many of these mechs I have done because I think I've got probably like a company worth of Bounty Hunter mechs. So like all painted up like green and white. This is though the official pack for them, and there are some interesting options in here. So the pilot cards are all either the Bounty Hunter or people related to the Bounty Hunter. As well, remember that the Bounty Hunter changes, like, you know, a Bounty Hunter can die and another Bounty Hunter can take over. It can be a man or a woman. So you've got this, like, situation where some of them are like, oh yeah, he was a Bounty Hunter, or she was a Bounty Hunter, or it just says Bounty Hunter. It's meant to be ambiguous and confusing. But it is also, you know, like the Bounty Hunter as it's like a pirate mercenary type group that's just like very famous. In terms of mechs here then that interest me, well, the Marauder not so much. The Marauder, again, like the other Marauder that comes in the other Legendary set, you've got that option to put in an AC weapon or a PPC. I love Marauders. I absolutely adore these sculpts. I won't be using that for the Mercenary, for the Bounty Hunter, because I've already done a Marauder for him and it's his variant of it. So that will be getting used as something else. Not complaining at all. Like, to have a Marauder with a Rack 5, yes please, I can use that somewhere. Then we've got this like, well, I mean, most variants of the Warhammer are, I think there's like one rule on the Warhammer. It must have 2 PPCs and it must have some kind of missile system on its right torso, and that absolutely has this, but it's a different variant. It doesn't have the machine guns or the M lasers in there, and I don't think it tells me the variant type on here, does it? I don't think so. Looks like it's more a latter era version though. Yeah, I didn't check. I should have checked this really before I started recording, but I didn't. So there you go. But it belongs to Vic Travers and Cayudo. Yeah. Again, the sculpt's nice. I won't be using any of these in the... Oh, in fact, no, that's not true. One of these, at least, maybe 2, but definitely one of them will be getting used in the Mercenary... sorry, I keep saying Mercenary. In the Bounty Hunter pack. We'll deal with that next. That is the Loki 2. So this is actually a clan mech, and I really like this mech. He's very chonk. He looks like a regular Loki that didn't miss leg day. Usually Lokis look like quite streamlined. This guy just looks buff. I don't know if it's got like some Inner Sphere influence on there in terms of its design, or it's just like predominantly clan. But the mech, again, outside of the eras I really play in BattleTech, but this is like a very late era Bounty Hunter thing. I don't know if it gives you a year on here. Probably not. Oh yeah, it does 3130s. It kind of specifies. So yeah, very, very late era for me, that. Then we've got the Griffin. This is presumably like the original mech that the Bounty Hunter has. And it looks like, though I don't think there's confirmation. I should have got the alpha cards out actually. I think it will tell you on there. This looks though like the Star League version. Is it the 3N? It's the one with the 2 SRM6s on there. Very like it's the special mech that you can get in BattleTech 2018. It's incredibly powerful. It's got like that era. It's like double heat sinks and it's just a murder machine. It's brilliant. And then what have we not talked about? Oh, we'll do the best for last, because the last one's quite an interesting mech. There's the Marauder 2 there. That is just a pretty standard Marauder 2. if I remember rightly, and I use an old metal model for the Bounty Hunters version, and I do remember proxying in some extra M lasers or some laser on the arms. You can see that it's got I don't know if you can see that, but there are basically 3 ports to shoot from. So it's presumably like a PPC and 2 M lasers. So it's a bigger variant than like a regular Marauder 2. It's got more weapons. Oh, sorry, not bigger. It's got more weapons than a regular Marauder 2. But yeah, I love a Marauder 2. They're very, very crunchy and very fun to play. And then finally, we have got the Bounty Hunter Mad Cat. Now, I have a Bounty Hunter Mad Cat, and it doesn't have any ears. The Bounty Hunter Mad Cat just strips off its LRMs. It's like a lot of electronics on there, a lot of different like weapon systems. This though is a very, very interesting variant of the Mad Cat, and I did look into this actually recently, like yesterday. It's got lots of weird. It's got like anti-personnel Gauss rifles on there. It's got. I'm trying to remember. I think it was from memory. I think it's got 3 SRM Streak 4s on one torso and 3 regular SRM 4s on the other. Because there are a total of 12 missile. 12 missile ports on each ear there. I really like that sculpt. I think it's probably the best Mad Cat that they have done in terms of its pose. It's got like a twisted torso, so really, really like that. So again, the legendary packs they're a very specialised set. I would advise you don't get them if you are relatively new to BattleTech. Just keep to like the core boxes. But for like old fans or older fans like me, where you've got like the bounty hunter stuff in there, or that's not something that maybe a lot of like new BattleTech players will really have any kind of sentiment towards. But good to get though if you can. It gives you some extra options on tabletop if you want different variants. Next up then, Somerset Strikers. Some gorgeous out there. They've got that like weird derpy like enhanced imaging. It's a wolfhound, I think, there in the background. So that's from the old cartoon, which is where this obviously stems from. These are incredible. I'm going to say that. We get, I think the standout miniature here by some way is actually the Hatamoto Chi. This is just the Draconis Combine variant of a Thug, but you can see it is basically the variant that's in the old cartoon. Looks very, very like Japanese inspired, as you would expect. It's a Kurita design. And they're starting to do this now. They're starting to kind of make mechs a little bit more like specific to their force, and the Kuritans are the obvious and the easiest ones to do that with. Next up then we got the Mauler, and what a chunky boy this fella is. I think he's certainly the tallest mech out of all the mechs I've got in front of me here, and he almost like, even though he's only 90 tons, he kind of rivals the Marauder 2 there just for size. He's a big boy. Love the Mauler. It's such a stupid mech. LRM 15s, AC2 galore, 2 like ERL lasers. It's just weird, but we love him. What have we got here? Oh, we've got a kneeling wolfhound, which actually brings one of its M lasers into the frontal area. So you've got like a diamond now of M lasers as opposed to the M laser on the back. Bushwhacker. I love that pose for the Bushwhacker. I love the Bushwhacker in general. I think it's a beautiful mech. But I love that he's kind of stood on that like piece of, I don't know, like destroyed metal or something. He looks very, very feisty. He looks ready to go. Underrated mech, the Bushwhacker. I think he's a very, very good. And then finally, we have got Adam Steiner's Axeman. This is the 2N variant. Possibly the worst variant of the Axeman on the market. Absolutely awful. Swaps its LRM. Sorry, swaps its AC20 out for 2 LRM 15s. Problem is with that, they've got minimum range penalties. This boy's got an axe, so yeah, mixed messaging all over there. Like you want to go up and punch people with the axe, hit people with the axe, but your weapon systems are completely mismatched. Also got all the, and this is the same for all axemen in the early days, they've got all their M lasers on the axe arm, which renders the axe utterly useless because you can't shoot them with if you hit with the axe. It's a nightmare fuel of a mech, but it's beautiful. He looks like he stood on the back of a mech there. Like to think that would be a summoner. But you can't really tell. I was having a good look last night. It's difficult to kind of assess what kind of mech it is. Oh, one final thing. The Hatamoto Chi actually comes with these little flags that you can put on the back there. So again, just tying in very much to that like Japanese aesthetic. So very, very nice. Final bit then, our final straight here. We have got the Salvage packs that came out. So one was the Savannah Masters. These are absolutely tiny. Basically advises that you put 2 on a hex. I mean, you won't even be able to see. It's absolutely tiny. Yeah, and if you don't know, Savannah Master, it's just one person in like a tiny little cockpit with an M laser that just float along the battlefield, their hovercraft, shooting at things. Very, very crunchy if you get a lot of them on table, which is very bad form. Don't do that. People will not. You will lose friends doing that in BattleTech. Then we've got the Visigoth, which is the aerospace asset. This I think is an Omni fighter, clan Omni fighter. Can't say I'm very well versed in clan Omni fighters. What I love about this, and this is again what the new plastics has given us, look at that wingspan. It's absolutely huge. You know, compare that with like one of the broader mechs, like like this chap. Like it's wider than, it's very, very accurate in terms of, how a plane would be very, very big and have a very big wingspan. This is nobody's fault. It's just the way that metal is. You could never, ever do that with a metal model. Like, it would just unbalance and fall over and break. With plastics, though, because they are so light, you can very, very easily do that. So a huge, step up in quality. I was just going to sell these. What instead I think I'm going to do, I'm going to use this as the Banshee for the Somerset Strikers, even though it's not a Banshee. The Banshee is actually not a cannon unit in BattleTech, and I don't use aerospace assets, but just as a display piece, because I do actually have the old metal model Somerset Strikers. I might just give them this as the Banshee because it's just so prominent. It'd look great as a display piece actually once you get it painted up. And then finally we've got the other notable salvage point, and that was the Blood Ass. I did check as well. I was kind of having a moment of crisis during my unboxing video because I couldn't remember if they were Gauss rifles. They are Gauss rifles. They're just like the clan-looking Gauss rifle. Interesting point on this that I saw. So, one of the pilot cards is for a lady called Susan Kelly. If you do not know, and you won't know this if you are young, because you've probably not played it, in Mech Commander 2, the Davion liaison is Susan Kelly. If you ever play that game, you will know who she is because she's very attractive. I remember playing that through I must have been like a late teenager at the time and thinking, ooh, she's very, very attractive. Don't remember what the actress's name is, but very notable. Like, she comes on screen and, yes, a very handsome young woman. And that's her, basically. I don't know why they've given her a blood ass. There's no kind of... It's not. I mean, it might be something to do with a late career, something in the law that someone's done, but she certainly doesn't pilot a blood asp in that game. She doesn't pilot anything. She's just like your liaison officer. This is probably the wildest, most random fact you will ever know in BattleTech, and I'm going to tell you right now. The actress that played Susan Kelly, because I did check this years and years ago, because when I played Mech Commander 2 again, and I remember thinking, she's a very handsome lady. I wonder if she did anything else. Well, she did. She plays a Cenobite in one of the Hellraiser films. You're welcome. Most random fact you'll ever hear today. So she did go on to have... I don't think it's an illustrious career, let's say that. I think she played one of the very latter Hellraiser films, which were notably not very good. But yes, you play a Cenobite, basically an evil BDSM monster. Not great, but yeah, she does a fantastic role as I think she's a major. Yeah, she's Major Susan Kelly in that. So there you go. Interesting fact. In terms of the mech itself, it's just. I know I'm not kind of focusing in too much on the quality because it goes without saying the quality of these new mechs is absolutely mad good. Just the detail every time they bring out new things, the detail just increases that little bit more. They look absolutely fantastic. I think the Blood Asp is actually a very good example of that because it's got it's got a very, very interesting gait and stance. It's got all those like the Gauss rifles look different. They don't look like regular Gauss rifles. It's got like the clan head on there, that kind of like cockpit type head, and just the detail on everything in regards to like the weapon systems, the actuators. It's all there. The heat sinks. They've always done that. It's just I think they've been able to kind of step it up and learn from experience in regards to what works. Yeah, so just fantastic. Again, that's a very quick like review synopsis of what we're getting, the quality that we're getting, the new rule sets, things like that. So expect to see me shortly. I've got quite a bit to do today, but if I can, and if the weather holds out, or I might do it tomorrow morning if it doesn't, I'll do the other two videos as well, and that will be for the vehicles and then the mech packs, and then again there'll be some distance then between the salvage points because I don't want to get in that. So there you go, there's my very quick cheeky review. Hope you enjoyed that. I will thank you very much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you again next time.